Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. Man, I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so bright. Follow me, I got the guide. See you on the other side, son. Ain't nobody know what I've been through.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC 293 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, September 9, 2023, out of Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. In the main event, we have Israel Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland for the middleweight championship. In the co-main event, we have Tuivasa taking on Alexander Volkov in a heavyweight matchup. Overall, the main card, yeah, it might not have the names on it, but I think they put together a card that they felt was appropriate for Australia. Main event, Sean Strickland. You know, I don't think that was really going to be the one they really wanted to go with, but timing is everything, and that's just who they had to get in there. So, and you never know. Maybe Sean Strickland's able to do something, shock the world or whatever against Adesanya. And for the rest of the card, I think there's some pretty good names on there. Maybe not standouts like Adesanya, but who knows? Some of these fights, we've seen this before where you don't really think much of the card, and the next thing you know, it's crazy. So hoping for that. And then at the end of the day, it's MMA. So let's go ahead. Oh, and don't forget, make sure you look in the description below for the rest of the predictions for the prelims. I always leave them in there. I'll always try to update it before the card starts, so that way you can see the rest of the predictions on the prelims. I might start just adding it to the video because I think people aren't checking that or whatever, but definitely check in the description box for the rest of the prelims and all that, all those predictions. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first fight. In the first fight on the main card, we have Tyson Pedro taking on Anton Turkalj. 9-4 for Pedro, and then 8-2 for Turkalj. This is an interesting matchup because I think both guys, I mean, more so Pedro, I think he could be a lot better. He just, unfortunately, I don't know if it's IQ, just not getting out of that. Once he gets out of the first round, unfortunately, he's not able to do much. He hasn't won a fight that gets out of the first round, so that's not a good thing. But he's coming off a decision loss, and a unanimous decision loss, and in a fight where he actually got two takedowns in there. Pretty close, significant strikes landed, 45 to 44. So I think it was more so just, I guess, him just not being able to do too much damage or trying to win dom. I don't know. I feel like sometimes he's a little bit too stagnant with his attack, right? He's just kind of content with, I guess, trying to go in for the grappling a little bit. And if he gets you on the floor, he's not really damaging or anything. On the feet, I think he's pretty good. Throws some pretty hard leg kicks. Goes to the body pretty good. I think he put together some combinations, but I don't know. It doesn't scream like he's super aggressive, like he's willing to go out there and just run through his opponent. He's kind of content with, you know, if it's there, he'll go for it. But in his last fight against Makdessi Bukakas, it just didn't seem like he was really trying to do anything dominantly in that one. I think he was just kind of content with letting the fight go to a decision. And you know, when you do that and you're kind of just up against the fence, getting held, or you're holding your opponent, but there's no damage. I mean, at that point, you're just letting your opponent kind of get away with it. Before that, he defeated Henry Hunsucker KO TKO with that kick. And then before that, he beat EK Villanova KO TKO in round number 1. Lost to Mauricio Shogun Hua. Lost to Ovince St. Preux. And then, you know, you go back a little. And his first two fights inside the UFC, pretty good wins against Khalil Roundtree Jr. and then a good win against Paul Craig. But it just feels like inconsistent, right? So the moment the fight goes out of the first round, he starts struggling, and low volume too landed, right? So he's not trying to put together a good volume, land on his opponent, you know, overwhelm them with combinations or the leg kicks, or even when he grapples, you know, I think he could be a little bit more aggressive. So with someone like Anton Turkalj, he's also not one of these guys who's going out there and putting on the most impressive performances. He's coming off of a loss against Vitor Petrino via unanimous decision in a back and forth wrestling match. Kind of, he got 5 takedowns and then Petrino got 7. A fight too where on the feet, like, he puts together some combinations, but Petrino was definitely able to rock him a couple times and put his hands on him. And that's concerning, because when you have these guys where their defense just kind of goes out the window and they're not really fighting someone where I think Pedro might have a little bit better striking than Vitor Petrino. And so if you leave those openings against someone that can just, take your head off, head kick you, or just string together any brutal combinations, I think you're done for, right? Like some guys might be able to not knock you out or whatever, but if you leave those openings against someone like Pedro early on, like it's going to be all over for you, because he will be able to do damage early on. It's as the fight goes on. The other concern here is if Turkalj is able to get past that first round. So if for whatever reason he slows the fight down, or he's just able to hold him against the fence, maybe he does get tagged a little bit, but he's still able to survive. If he gets out of that first round and he starts implementing the grappling, the wrestling a little bit more, even if it's just holding him against the fence or just working to get him down, and maybe he gets him down, he pops up, but then gets him down. Kind of how he fought Dos Santos in the first fight at Dana White Contender Series, where he takes him down 11 times. If that ends up happening, yeah, I mean, I think Anton Turkalj will be able to win a decision, and we'll kind of see like a little bit of an exhausted Pedro, and he just won't be able to do too much as the fight goes on. Because that's my concern with Tyson Pedro, is him pacing himself. It just seems like I don't know if it's just, I really don't know if he's just exerting himself too much to try to get the KO. He's putting everything in when he tries to put together some of the big shots. He just unloads his entire energy. But as the fight goes on, he just doesn't look like he's still the cleanest fighter, right? He's the freshest fighter. And that's concerning, because I don't really think Turkalj is the greatest, right? But just because he can grapple, he might be able to just hold Pedro on the floor. And that might not be the best thing for the fans. It might not be the best thing to watch. But then you end up with Turkalj probably pulling off a decision if he takes him down like 8 times or something like that. And Pedro's not able to get up, or he's just not really able to fight off his back. So for this one, Pedro has to get going early on and really tee off on him and hurt him badly early on if he wants to get the victory. He can't be doing this waiting for Turkalj to take him down and, just exerting all of his energy into like a couple of big shots here and there. Because like I said, if Turkalj takes him down, gets out of the way a lot of that stuff, even if his striking doesn't look the best, if he's getting those takedowns, I think he's holding Pedro on the floor, and then he's just going to lose the decision. So early on, when Pedro's fresh, he's got to put it together, get in his face, be aggressive, try to touch his chin, drop bombs on his head, and get going. So I'm going to go with Tyson Pedro. This is a sketchy thing to do. Just there's always a sketchy fight to pick. Just because I think Pedro could get stuck, right? I think if he doesn't get going early on, then he's gassed out of his mind. Then he's going to be getting taken down or held against the fence the entire fight. But if he fights smart, paces himself, looks for those opportunities, stays aggressive, I think you get that first round KO TKO, because I think Turkalj will leave him openings on the feet. I do think Pedro's better than him on the feet. So he's going to give him the opportunities. It's whether or not Tyson Pedro is going to be able to land. So with that, I'm going to go Tyson Pedro to defeat Anton Turkalj. I'll take him to win by round 1 KO TKO. In the second fight on the main card, we have a heavyweight bout between Justin Tafa, 6-3. He'll be taking on Austen Lane, 12-3 in 1 no contest. So this is a rematch of their previous fight in June 24th, 2023. No contest because Lane absolutely just eye-poked the shit out of him, and then Tafa just wasn't able to continue. Now, what I will say, because although it was a quick bout, right? Only 3 strikes landed for Lane. Those body kicks, man, like he was really digging in for those body kicks. And Tafa was eating them, but how many could he take, right? We didn't really get to see that play out. And when you look at someone like Austen Lane, who's going to have that reach advantage, he's got to make it difficult for Tafa to come in on him, right? He's got to keep him at distance, and I think those kicks were a pretty good way of doing that, right? Slam into the body. And then at the same time, when he does rush in, when he tries to lunge in with those big hooks or just the big overhand or anything like that, Austen Lane has to be able to get him to be reaching so that he can tag him up while he's coming in. Avoid the power. Constantly be moving. Because if Tafa's able to shut off the octagon, he's going to start landing. And again, it's not like he hasn't been taken out. His first fight inside the UFC got taken out by Jorgen. De Castro, KO TKO. He's lost fights before, but he's very dangerous, Tafa, right? He had that head kick KO TKO against Harry Hunsucker. Parker Porter, he was able to take him out in round number 1. He doesn't have to land much. Like, when you're that big of a dude, you don't really have to land much. But if he's getting frustrated, he's getting kicked to the body, he's, Tafa's not going to be able to take too much of that before it starts to have put his toll on his body, right? He's going to start slowing down. He might turtle a little bit, and then Austen Lane's going to be able to tee off on him. But then even that situation, you have to be careful, because if Austen Lane runs in on him, it's kind of what he wants, right? Because then Tafa can start throwing down in close, and at that point, if he lands a bomb, he could put Austen Lane out. So this is an interesting fight just because we really didn't get to see much, but I do think obviously Austen Lane's going to try to keep that distance, use it to his advantage. He doesn't want to be brawling in close with Tafa. He wants to kind of pick him apart, go for the attack when he can, and then get out of the way if he tries to counter. But I don't know. I just think for me, though, I mean, Austen Lane's been taken out by Greg Hardy, of all people, in Dana White Contender Series. Then he came back 2022, got the KO TKO. But still, I don't doubt that Austen Lane might be able to put up a little bit more volume, right? I think he might have the more variety of the attack. But then at the same time, I think if Tafa, the moment he's going to get in close and start exchanging, I just feel like he's going to be able to kill him. So one of these guys is going down in the first round. I really do. I would assume if Tafa gets taken out, I actually feel like it's going to be via those body shots. And I think if Austen Lane goes out, it's going to be because Tafa just gets in close, shuts him down, and then basically just clubs him and either KO TKOs him or just flat out KOs him. So it'll be interesting to see here. But yeah, I mean, Tafa's got to get in his face. Like, that's pretty much it. Get in his face. Don't eat too many body kicks on the way in, and then just shut off the octagon and just see if you can get in close and start landing, man. So I'm gonna go Justin Tafa on this one. Maybe Austen Lane's able to. Maybe he might even be able to pull off a decision. Who knows? But I still think someone's going to sleep early on. So I'm gonna go Justin Tafa to defeat Austen Lane. I was going to win by round 1, KO TKO. In the third fight on the main card, we have Manel Kape, 18-6, taking on Felipe dos Santos, 7-0 in his UFC debut in a flyweight bout. So for Manel Kape, he's obviously going to be the veteran here. I think obviously he has more wins. He has just more fights. Most important thing, though, for Manel Kape is that he's fought 5 times inside the UFC. And I think that's pretty solid. I definitely. O.D. Osborne is a pretty solid win. Obviously, his first fight in the UFC was a loss against Alexander Pantoja, but I think that's pretty good. Got 2 takedowns in that fight. I mean, that's good experience. Split decision loss to Matthews Nikolai. He got taken down 2 times in that fight. So 2 tough fights right off the bat. Then he defeated O.D. Osborne, Zuma Gulov, and then David Dobrak in his last fight via decision. My only concern with Kape, I think he can get takedowns in this fight. 100%. I think he's going to be able to get takedowns. Now, he has to be careful when he does that. He has to be careful on the feet because I think Dos Santos' style, he does seem like he could put together some combinations. He's got that flat-footed stance where he could probably start stringing together something if you're just standing in front of him. I don't doubt that he has power, good combinations. He's not overly aggressive. Dos Santos will probably also go for the leg kicks as well. He'll do those random flying knees too, so you got to be careful with that. He looks like a good fighter. It's just that I just think the experience of Kape and then mixing in the grappling, because we've seen Felipe dos Santos. He's been taken down before, and I feel like Kape would be able to hold him down on the floor, work some damage, and unless dos Santos is really threatening off his back with elbows or anything like that, if he's not able to get up, I mean, I could see Kape winning a decision here. The only thing I have for Kape that concerns me really is that he gets a little bit cocky, and obviously in his last fight he gave up a little bit of a position against Dobrak. In that one, he definitely gave up a little position when I forget what he was doing, but he was taunting, or he just ended up in a little bit bad of a spot, and he almost finished him in that fight. And again, I feel like he started getting a little bit too cocky, a little bit too crazy, and he could have actually got a finish in his last fight, but I don't know, he was just showboating a little too much, and that's cool and all, but against a guy like this who's coming in out of nowhere, you don't want to get absolutely slaughtered by him, right? So you don't want to be winning the fight and then make these big mistakes where at the end of the day, Dos Santos can obviously land on him and put him away if he gives him the opportunity. But like I said, I think overall Kape is just going to have the better wrestling, the better grappling. And then on the feet, he might just have the better movement and the better speed. As long as he's not Kape's getting his head off the center line, not just standing right in front of him. Because I think Dos Santos might be able to tee off on him if he was just standing in front of him. But I don't think Kape's going to do that. He looks good. Kape looks good. He's going to be more experienced in this one. He just got to play it smart and see what he can do. Maybe go for a finish. I don't know if he goes for a finish. I think he might, but Dos Santos looks like he could handle himself on the feet. And he's got nothing to lose. Like, he's actually getting a pretty good competitor who's 18-6 with 5 fights inside the UFC. So this is a pretty good thing for Dos Santos. We'll see what he can do, but I still think it's just going to be tough to have your first fight against someone like Manel Kape, who, again, as long as he's not overly cocky and makes a mistake, I think he can just utilize the wrestling, control him on the floor, beat him up a little bit there. And then on the feet, I feel like Kape will be able to stay in his face, but be moving around and kind of just land the better shots here and there. So I'm going to go Manel Kape to defeat Felipe Dos Santos. I'll take him to win by decision. In the co-main event in the evening, we have Tuivasa, 15-5, taking on Alexander Volkov, 36-10, in a heavyweight bout. So for Tuivasa, he's coming in off of a loss against Sergey Pavlovich, where, I mean, he really just gets into these wars where it just comes down to who's going to get hit first, and then he gets taken out. Against Ciryl Gane, he was able to drop him, but then he just got out-pieced up, and Gane came back and just started lighting up more, went to the body, so that's a soft spot for him, and then he lost that one. Before that, he took out Derek Lewis, kind of in similar fashion, though, where he kind of just banks on throwing down and hoping that he's the one that stays upright, because at the end of the day, he has power, so he kind of just relies on that, blacks out, starts throwing down. And it was doing him good against lower-level strikers like Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, Harry Hunsucker, Stefan Struve. But when you start looking at grapplers, they take him out, right? And when you look at a better striker, Ciryl Gane, he takes him out. He does hurt him, but he takes him out. Sergey Pavlovich kind of just got in his face and, I mean, just was the better striker, wasn't as brawly, and found the openings to take him out. So Tuivasa, when you look at embedded, he looks pretty good. Definitely looks like he's a little bit lighter, so that's good to see. Maybe he's focused on knowing that this fight might go 3 rounds. Maybe he doesn't want to just run out there and start trading wildly with Volkov and get picked apart. I think Volkov can definitely land leg kicks here. You know, he's used to kind of putting up some decent volume in the longer fights. Volkov probably is going to want to take him down, see if he can tire him out, right? Make him work. I think that's going to be hard, though, early on. Tuivasa, regardless of, I would hope to see him clean it up a little bit to where he's not overly aggressive and just kind of throwing down. But I don't know. Both these guys throwing down, I have to side with Tuivasa. Like I understand Volkov is dangerous as well, but I mean, in close, man, if these dudes are just chugging bombs at each other, like, I have to go with Tuivasa, right? If it gets to that point. Who knows how he fights? I feel like he's gonna fight. I don't want to say a little. I don't want to say he's gonna change his entire style, but I feel like Tuivasa is not gonna be so like just brawling back and forth with Volkov. But at the same time, he's gonna still have to get going because he doesn't want to sit back. He doesn't want to get kicked to the body, front kick to the body, jab to death, right? He doesn't want to turn this into a decision loss. So Tuivasa still has to get in his face and try to throw down. But I don't know. Something just tells me he's going to do it a little bit more clean. I think if this fight goes to decision, I think Volkov's going to win it, right? I think if it finishes it, it's Tuivasa doing it. And I think he does it early. Volkov's a good fighter, man, right? It's not like he's getting finished out here. He's definitely one of these guys who can string together some nasty combinations and hurt his opponents. But he's fighting like a Derek Lewis here, right? Like he's fighting a Derek. And if Tuivasa, like I said, he looks like he lost a lot of weight. Hey, man, if he's a little bit lighter, on his feet. Maybe he's a little bit more agile. Maybe he's gonna put together some combinations. Who knows? He might be able to channel his aggression a little bit more to where he hangs with Volkov and it doesn't get so sloppy. But he's still just able to pop, drop bombs on his head, and then he's doing a shoey or whatever. So, yeah, it's one of these fights where it's like, yeah, you could see Alexander Volkov going for a decision, picking him apart. But then at the back of my head, it's like, damn, Tuivasa is going to come out and absolutely annihilate him early on. And it won't really matter what Volkov's able to do. And it'll just be that one blemish on Volkov's record where, he got taken out that early or something like that. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm going to go with Tuivasa to defeat Alexander Volkov. I'll take him to win by round 1, KO TKO. In the main event of the evening, we have Israel Adesanya, 24-2, taking on Sean Strickland, 27-5, in a middleweight bout for the middleweight championship. Obviously, Adesanya is the current champion, and he's coming off of a win over Alex Pereira, which he was able to get back after losing to him the first time. Arguably still, though, he did get teed off on in that one, but he didn't get absolutely slept. So he did lose that fight, but he didn't get slept. Then he makes the adjustments. He reads Alex Pereira having that guard down when he starts to tee off on someone up against the fence. He has his hands low. He's open to get countered, and then Adesanya was able to counter and put him down and fire back with his own shots. Very epic. We've seen it all. Now, before that, he took on Jared Cannonier, a fight where people are like, what's going on here? But he outstrikes him, wins the unanimous decision. Robert Whittaker outstrikes him, wins the unanimous decision. Gets taken down 4 times, but he outstrikes him and gets the unanimous decision. Against Marvin Vettori, outstrikes him, gets taken down 4 times again, wins the unanimous decision. Loses to Jan Blachowicz, where Blachowicz is able to land more significant strikes because he's able to take him down 3 times, and Adesanya just really wasn't able to do much when he was on the floor. Still getting, I think he can still be controlled by a bigger fighter like Jan Blachowicz, if Blachowicz was fighting at 185. Before that, he defeats Paulo Costa. Really good fight for him. Defeats him KO TKO round number 2. Before that, he defeats Yoel Romero. One of the most boring fights that people have watched, right? A lot of complaints for that one. He was kind of just content with barely outstriking him. He did defend 3 takedowns, so that's pretty good for him. That's something to keep an eye on because Romero back then, a nasty wrestler. A lot of people, I think, count out Adesanya's takedown defense and his ability to get back up. Defeats Robert Whittaker for the first time, defeats Kelvin Gastelum, Anderson Silva, Derek Brunson. So he's pretty much fought like all the top guys in the middleweight division. Now, what I will say for him, though, is Adesanya is very reminiscent of Silva, too, because I think there's a lot of matches where Silva did what he needed, fought the way he needed to fight so he could win versus like risking anything. I don't think Silva was as dominant as like John Jones, because John Jones really went in there and tried to beat dudes at their own game, right? Against DC, he tried to wrestle him, right? Against Gustafsson, he was trying to strike with him and beat him that way. Against Machida, same kind of thing. He was trying to figure out the stand-up, and then he ends up submitting him. Against Belfort, right? He gets into that nasty submission armbar and then beats him up on the floor. Like, he doesn't really, John Jones just really didn't care. He just wanted to be better at everything that you were good at. Whereas I feel like Adesanya, he is really good, but he's content with winning, with fighting a fight 4 times, like these 4 fights that he has, even against Blachowicz, and them all going to decision, because he's like, I'm still better than you. I don't need to risk going for the KOTK or anything like that just so I can get a flashy knockout. Like, I just want to defend my belt. So when he lost to Alex Pereira, it was pretty impressive to come back, because you could tell he was motivated to get in there and go for a finish. Like, I think he really wanted that finish, not just winning a decision or anything like that. Sean Strickland's been around forever, man. He's been around since March 15th of 2014. Very good, well-rounded fighter. I would say in close is he does his best work in the pocket. Really good boxing. He'll eat shots in close too. Now we saw him get taken out by Alex Pereira, which really was a quick fight. He really didn't have much for him. I mean, the moment that Pereira was able to come over the top with a punch, he just took him out. Like, he knocked him out cold. So he really didn't get to see Strickland get anything going in that one. Then he lost to Jared Cannonier in that one, again in a split decision. Now that was a pretty close bout. He outstruck him, got a takedown, but they gave it to Jared Cannonier. So we seen what Cannonier was able to do recently, and I think that's a pretty good win to have. Against Nasruddin Imavov, he was able to get the decision victory. 182 significant strikes to Imavov's 123, and he gets one takedown. So, obviously able to put up the numbers. Against Abus Magomedov, he's able to get the KO TKO in round number 2. Something that we really don't see from him, getting that KO TKO, but showed, again, just far better striker. And he did get taken down in that fight, but he got up, whatever. But yeah, just far better striker. So Sean Strickland's kind of underrated, in my opinion. He does talk a lot of shit, whether that's for entertainment, whatever. It is what it is. But he knows how to win a decision, and he also knows how to get in someone's face and start lighting them up. I don't think Strickland, though, looks to KO someone or do anything like that. I feel like he's legitimately content with standing right in front of you, trading back and forth, using really good head movement. But it's like boxing, right? He's not kickboxing, really. I guess he can, but he just loves trading in so close that it's like dirty boxing. And Adesanya, he's not really going to be doing that. I don't think he's going to be doing that. He likes to fight from that kickboxing stance, and he would prefer to kickbox, not have Sean Strickland like right next to him, literally just throwing up volume and just trading back and forth that close. So Adesanya. The one thing that concerns me for Adesanya here is if Strickland's just able to get in his face, keep that defense up, and kind of just by aggressively keeping that pace, he could pull off a decision victory here, or maybe Sean Strickland's able to light him up. Right? There's probably gonna be opportunities for that. It's not gonna be easy, but Adesanya could leave himself a little bit open, and. At the end of the day, just like when Pereira beat him the first time, if he's up against the fence and he's not really, he's trying to get the head movement going, the referee could stop it if they think Adesanya is not defending himself. I don't really see that happening. I say that loosely, though. Like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I don't see it happening. Like, no, I do see Sean Strickland winning. I just feel like it would be more so by a decision, just by outpacing him. Because we've seen Adesanya not put up those numbers, right? Where he's outstriking some of these guys. But it's almost like Adesanya somehow makes them hesitant to come in on him. And that's how Adesanya is able to keep that volume up, keep the significant strikes volume up on his opponents and kind of pull away from them. This fight reminds me of, unfortunately, I feel like it's going to be like the Jared Cannonier fight where both guys will put up some pretty, 90 strikes for Jared Cannonier landed and then 116 for Adesanya. I think it'd be close like that. I just think it might be a boring decision because, Sean Strickland's going to not want to go in there and probably get knocked out like he did against Alex Pereira. So he might try to put him up against the fence, hold him a little bit, possibly try to work in the takedown, get him down. And then if he's able to get him down, right, I don't know what he's going to do from there. But on the feet especially, I could see Strickland just throwing out the punches, trying to stay right in his face, and then just going having like a back and forth match, but nothing's really going down, no one's really getting hurt, and it's just a matter of who outvolumed who, or at least who the judges thought was like more aggressive or whatever. So I'm a little concerned that this fight is not gonna really be too fun, but hey man, we've seen that before from Adesanya. Sometimes it's not about risking it all for the biscuit. And Sean Strickland, like if Adesanya is too emotionally involved in this one, although I think a lot of that stuff is not, it's just for the show, right? It's not necessarily true, all of it. If Adesanya is too invested in this one and he's like, I'm going to get the finish, if Alex Pereira got the finish, I'm getting the finish. Who knows? Maybe he leaves himself open because he's trying to go for something that he wouldn't normally go for. And then Strickland pieces him up and close. Boom, boom, boom. Puts him on the floor. Takes him out. And then Sean Strickland's the middleweight champion. Which would be absolutely insane because of how he is. Like, he would start saying so much shit. Like, that would be crazy. So we'll see what happens. But I think overall, Adesanya still is the better striker. I think he's more of a sniper, right? He doesn't want to get hit if he doesn't have to. If he can take advantage of you overreaching or just having your defense, like if you're one of these guys who's like, I'll eat some shots, like Adesanya is going to make sure you pay for every shot that you eat. And he wants to snipe you, like I said. And I think his takedown defense has gotten significantly better. At least his ability to get off me or to get back up. So interested in seeing what we get from Israel Adesanya, and Sean Strickland. But Sean Strickland, it's a tough fight, man. I don't really see Adesanya taking him out unless I don't know. I guess he would really have to string together some good combinations like he did against Pereira, because Pereira, I could see obviously when he took out Sean Strickland, he dropped bombs on him. But Adesanya, he might fight a little bit more safe, pick him apart. And back and forth match. Maybe not the most exciting thing in the world, but you have Adesanya walk out as the champion still. But don't sleep on Sean Strickland. I think that's the problem. You kind of forget who's this guy, and then next thing you know, he's the champ, knocking him out. So I'm gonna go Israel Adesanya. I'm gonna take him to defeat Sean Strickland. I'll take him to win by decision. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 293 main card predictions. Like I said, make sure you check down below for the prelim predictions. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.